everybody, and welcome to the Are You Screening podcast. I'm your host, areyouscreening.com's own Mark Eastman, and with me, as always, is co-host extraordinaire Shane Leonard.
Hello. I'm looking at the computer like we always do instead of the camera.
That's what I always do.
Oh
Anyway,
man. All
and
right. Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
it doesn't matter. So this week, I feel like it has been so long,
Yeah.
since we've done this, and since for the listening audience, it'll be even weirder because it's been a while since I've had any time to like do stuff.
Right.
So
Busy
anyway,
summer.
yeah, summer is nuts. But so this week we're going to get to Inside Out 2 because it's
In theaters.
the big huge thing that then was like quickly overshadowed by Minions,
Yeah.
which, hooray Minions. I'm done with Minions.
Right.
I really I really just am. I mean,
When did minions lose you? Like you actually sound like a minion like damaged your house
you
and
know,
didn't pay for something.
I really like the whole thing, right?
Okay.
I like
Do you?
I I I like, the first movie I thought was really, really good. I
Yeah.
like the second
Yeah.
movie. And now I'm like, there's
They
like a
won't stop.
cartoon,
Yeah.
there's like a series or something. They keep coming out with this and
It's like an
that.
MCU all by
And
itself.
then, it's just not that great, I don't think.
It's
It's almost like I haven't seen the most recent movie, right?
yeah, I
But
haven't either. Yeah, hurting my feelings.
I've seen the ones before, right?
Yeah.
And at some point I feel like, like the joke's over, actually, right?
Right. Not to
But
yeah.
if we make another movie, it'll make a bunch of money.
Right.
Now, maybe this new one is like awesome. But
Yeah.
I got to tell you, like, we say this fairly frequently. The number of people who go on the first day
Yeah.
does not mean the movie's good.
That's right.
You
That's your Phantom
don't
Menace right there.
know the movie's good.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's probably really good, and hooray for Steve Carell. But I feel like at
Yeah.
some point, uh, it's really just like if Steve Carell was just like sitting in a room doing the voice,
Right.
that's good enough. Shoot
Right.
it or
Right.
whatever. It's like it doesn't matter. It's just him doing this screwy voice. It's just the screwy voice of the minions themselves. And
Right.
ha ha ha. And
Yeah.
like it's like there's a wave of people, right, who will, just will not be knocked off the hill if they hate the Three Stooges,
That's right.
so that they could go to the
Damn you.
Minions
That's
movie
right.
and go,
That's
"This
right.
is brilliant."
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. But it
Sometimes things are so superficially interesting, but there's no volume to it, and they just keep churning it out. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, so Inside Out 2. We're also gonna do
Yeah.
Axel F,
Yep.
the Netflix latest attempt at Beverly Hills Cop,
Right.
which is it's out there in the world where we are right now in the world of you know, did anyone ask for this? I feel like that is a
That's a fair question.
big, the social media thing is did anyone want this? And I'm not answering that question yet.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying
Right.
that's clearly where
That's
it
what we're
is,
gonna
right?
ask.
You revisit a
Yeah.
franchise, after like
Years.
25 years
Yeah.
off or whatever.
Right.
Anyway, but it, interestingly, they did have like a lot of the people, and that was really kind of cool, I thought. Now whether that worked out or not, but the theory of having, all the same people, I thought was cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
and then also If, which is
Yeah.
the
John Krasinski's, Ryan Reynolds,
yeah.
Claire. No, not Claire. Fleming. Actually, I was blown away. We'll get to If too. If is like Ocean's 15. When you look at the credits and you start
I
hearing
know.
all the voice actors
Right.
who are portraying animated characters, there's not that many live action people in there. I mean, there are, and you'll recognize all of them, I think. But you start listening to the voices and you're like, holy crap, these guys are really going balls to the wall for this.
Right. There's everyone's in it.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. All right. So, with 3 movies to do, I think we're not even gonna, and especially since we've kind of like been away from things for a little bit,
We got to
like
shake the rust off.
exactly. We'll just
Let's go.
jump into the movies.
Right.
Maybe if I can stuff work. on my phone because
I know we're so
that's how life works. We'll pretend
that's all
that
right.
we sort of know what we're doing.
Laughing at me because my phone
Anyway,
shut down.
well, mine works. It
Well,
just
that's a
I
fair
don't
point.
work.
Mine shut down.
My
Oh, okay.
phone works.
I get it. Well,
Yeah.
then we're the opposites.
We're gonna start just because I'm gonna conveniently package animated things together. We'll start
Let's
with
do it.
Axel F,
Oh, okay.
and then we'll go to
Okay,
having
yeah,
them
that makes
having
sense. That
them
makes
in a
sense.
row.
You threw
Okay.
me for a second. I thought we were gonna do both of those first.
So Eddie Murphy revisits Beverly Hills Cop,
Yep.
and you know it's really weird because uh, s- just to throw out the rating, as we theoretically are supposed to just throw out the rating
Right.
early on. You know, so I feel like I should explain a little bit, right?
Do it.
Because I gave this 3.5.
It's so
Um,
close. I gave you a 3. I knew you were gonna be right there.
um, and it's funny because we talk about our ratings sometimes,
Mhm.
and you know, listen, leave us a comment, tell us what you think about
Yeah.
us, and subscribe and all that stuff. You can also go to areyouscreening.com, fill out the form, and email us, and get to us that way. But we do have people comment sometimes, and you know, one thing people do say sometimes is they love how we fight over like the exact rating that we give because we'll be like, no, it's 3.5. And
Right.
it's like, well, what about three? Nope. It's
But that
I'm like,
matters.
it's not for
Yeah.
like, but we talk about how we give stuff ratings like I'm about to do because I'm like, I kind of wanted to give it
No,
4,
it doesn't deserve
but
it.
I just couldn't do it, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
Like, and we do get comments sometimes, and we love your comments,
Yeah, we do.
and don't think that we don't read them or aren't interested in them.
All the time.
If you don't include something that I can work out as kind of being a question, then we probably won't specifically address the fact that you emailed us. But we do get the emails
Love emails.
and you know whatever comments and
And they're all read.
right.
Yeah, so
Um, but I do think it's funny that every once in a while that will pop up.
yeah.
Um,
Is it is it is it real crass too? Like, what do you care? 3 or 3.5? Or, like, is somebody
no,
challenging you in the way
no,
or
it's
me and just saying, like, "Come on,
yeah,
come
it's
on,
kind of it,
you split too many hairs?"
you know, I don't know. It's kind of like a mix.
I love it.
It's usually like a you know, kind of I guess playful comment that we're really
Yeah.
weird,
Yeah.
and that
Alright.
nobody else does that, right? And so
That's cool.
I think that
I'm alright with that too.
where this spawns comments and emails
Yeah.
is just the fact that and everybody else just goes, "It's 3.5. Okay, now let's talk about blah, 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 blah,
Oh,
blah,"
yeah.
and not
No.
really,
We're
like, go,
diving.
"No, it's this
And
because,
it
and
was this
it
one
could be
scene that lost
that."
this, and if it hadn't said this, I'd have done 4. Yeah,
Right.
no, we're easily offended.
We are, I don't know.
I'm easily
We are,
offended.
like, sticklers for the
I love
exact
it.
ratings. But I really did first you know, somewhere in my mind, 4 was, like, the thing,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And, like, as I was watching it, and I really have to say there's a lot bad about this movie, and I'm not gonna totally review it, but, like, the first half hour,
Yeah.
I kinda was, like, going, "Well,
Oh,
maybe
man.
this won't be that bad." Like,
I'm glad I'm here.
it's not gonna be good apparently,
Yep.
but I was like, because I had no expectations for this, right?
Right.
I did not think
Right.
that there was gonna be anything good happening except that Eddie Murphy might get, like, some funny lines,
Yeah.
and he kinda did here and there and everything. But at first, I really kinda was like, "Maybe this won't be terrible," you
Yeah.
know, like, I thought I had, like, some hope. I
Right.
was like, "This we could be improving, you know, whatever, there could be something
Yeah.
here." But it was really weird how they were almost, trying to avoid doing anything that might have been what would have been good. Yeah, it was
Well, I've
like
got a theory on this.
but anyway, that's as much as I'll say for right now, but I gave it a 3.5, so
I gave it a 4, and I actually wanted to come in and say something strange, but I hadn't I mean, again, this is there's not a lot of premeditation. I'm looking at my phone, but I'm looking at my phone for IMDb, for cast if we struggle with a name or the director, or I wanna look up something quick. That's really all it is. I don't have anything prepared at all except for what I thought when I saw it. and that was, "This sucks. This sucks bad." Not Coming to America
And that's why you almost
sucked.
gave it 5.
Well, so here's what it is. In some ways, we've talked about this a bunch, and we will eventually get around to remaking one of our earlier episodes about how we rate, why we rate, where
Yeah,
we
we
come
gotta
from,
do
things
that.
like that. That's just an easy one to do, but it is available if you ever wanna check out podcast side of things. There are 2 numbers that almost always strike me very easily, very early. It can't be a 10 or a 0 because there's just not enough time. It's usually got a feeling of 7 or it's got a feeling of 5. You know, it's like, this is absolutely average. This is gonna be just an absolutely average film. It's gonna have some good parts, it's gonna have some annoyingly stupid things, it's probably not gonna make a lot of sense, it's just gonna circle around. 5.
Right.
Or it's in that like, "Man, this is really doing something, and if it just keeps it up, I can't, hurdle miss," whatever. 7, and that's big sweet spot, both 5 and 7. As a film, Axel F it's a 5 in the genre of pop, different place, hijinks, hilarity. It's not LA Confidential, it's not trying to be. As a installment for the Beverly Hills Cop franchise, that's when it comes down because it didn't have to be so weirdly stupid and slow. I thought about bringing it down to 3. Thought that was a bit unfair, but I had very strange feelings about, like, the first 20 minutes, the first half hour-ish, and it's weird. I was thinking of these things and trying to remember them. Film starts and you see a jittery sort of camera as you're watching Axel drive to a hockey game. He's going to the Detroit Red Wings. And you see like sort of a profile shot of Eddie Murphy to start the film. I think it's actually quite literally the second shot of the film. And I had a flash where I'm like, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be great. Because it's a backseat shot of him driving out of a tunnel and just the look of it, and I went, "They went for a noir kind of thing. They're gonna tell a good story here. They're gonna have funny clapback moments." Yet he's 63, 64 years old. He's not gonna be jumping on stuff and running around. Okay, he tried, but, this is gonna have to be something sort of more cerebral. And the film starts off I am gonna pick this up a bit. The film starts off, and it's already playing The Heat Is On.
Right.
And I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna give you this," because it's showing small hints of fun things. Of course, Eddie's driving around and everybody in Detroit knows him. Everyone's flipping him off. Okay. He doesn't have a brake light. Like, this makes sense. Like, it actually all these little things I'm picking up on. In the first 9 minutes, they run "The Heat Is On," which is one of the best songs from the first film, and "Shakedown," which is the theme for the second film. In the first 9 minutes at all, and I'm like, "Got it." He's also riding around in strange vehicles, which he did in the other films, and I'm like, "Oh, shit. I know what I'm watching now."
Right.
I'm watching The Force Awakens. I'm watching J.J. Abrams reboot the series for new viewers by taking all the greatest
By
hits
telling the
from the
exact
first
same
3
thing.
films, and it almost felt to me like a committee, man, where somebody just said, "Hey, when I say Axel Foley, what do you think of?" Banana in the tailpipe, getting thrown out of a window, getting arrested by a couple cops, put into a
How can
small
you steal a house?
police car, right. Every single thing, they're like, "Okay, we're gonna write that in, and we're just gonna figure out some stuff to get around it."
Yeah.
As a story, it's really boring, but it's not the worst. Actually, the 3rd film is the worst story, but it took me, and again, I'm not sitting at a film with a stopwatch, but I was aware of this. I rewatched the first 10 minutes because I was like, "Wait a minute, 2 songs in the first 9 minutes?" He's got one funny line, which is a throwaway line that somebody of Murphy's delivery can do. I don't care about ruining it either. He just says something like, "Man, there's a lot of blind spots on a snowplow."
Right.
And I chuckled. I thought, "Okay, I see this is gonna be terribly uneven." And it's just pandering Boba Fett in every shot because people like Boba Fett. I'm gonna play music you love from the first films because that's the emotional
We're
hook I'll
gonna
get.
we're gonna pop all the people in
Because I can't
just
I
to
can't write a
put them in the
story
camera. Yeah.
interesting enough to get you involved in, but I can make sure you like the theme song and The Heat Is On and Shakedown, and I'm gonna put every single person that was in the first film that can be in this film or the second film, in this film, if Gilbert Gottfried had been alive, he'd have done his cameo.
Right, right.
Paul Reiser's in here in the stupidest way, except to basically be, the chief, well, the assistant chief that gets his ass chewed out in the first film that Eddie Murphy goes back and forth on. They even has his picture on the wall, and I'm like, aha. So just like Coming to America, you bring everybody who's ever been in it back, you bring a couple new faces in, you replay all the old jokes. Sucks.
Yeah, you're
Sucks.
really making this sound like a one.
This is so disappointing. Yet I don't care. Eddie Murphy is either hit or miss lately, and sometimes he is hit. You watch Dolomite Is My Name, and I don't care if you don't know anything about it or not. That's a great film, and he's a great actor. You watch Coming to America too, or Coming to America. That sucks because they're just going through the motions. And I'm hoping when I see Eddie Murphy do work and when I hear him in the press junkets say, I've always loved Axel Foley, I want to do another film. I'm just waiting for the right story. And I'm thinking, tell me you waited long enough.
Right.
You didn't. This is
I mean,
Coming to America. This is
how
sloppy
how much
stuff.
longer can you wait
Right.
to
I
make
mean,
this now?
it was just interesting in a way, and then it just hit some weird spikes, but I had fun watching Eddie, even though I thought what he was doing was stupid.
Yes. So, some of it was fun and it had its moments, I think, where, it's not one. It's not
Right.
it's not complete garbage. It had stuff in it that worked, but the for me, the longer it went on,
Yeah.
the less it had any idea what to do with anything. It starts this whole story with him and his daughter,
Yep.
and we have to go through all this, and she's the lawyer for the guy, which
Yeah.
ties us into things and
Right.
gets him back to Beverly Hills.
Right.
They have to have this whole they're estranged and never talk to
Yeah.
each other. Really, almost the point of that, there's no point of that except to connect us or whatever. But with the estrangement, it's almost like we need to have like some breaks
Yeah.
and we have no idea what to do.
Right.
So
And we don't have characters to fill it in.
they're estranged
Right.
and they will have to have uncomfortable conversations and that'll
Yeah.
be funny or something.
Yeah.
And all the people, it was really cool to see all the people, I think, come back for this, even if they didn't do anything good. Right.
Hey,
I thought it was cool. Judge
yeah.
Reinhold was cool. Bronson
Judge
Pinchaw's
was
in
good.
it.
Bronson, I mean,
And
Surge is fine, but oh my God. Aquel, I get it, Surge.
uh but everyone, even like Paul Reiser,
Yeah.
I mean,
I like the idea.
they worked on this movie for like a day. Like
They did.
each one of them were
They
there
showed up.
for maybe a day,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like Bronson Pinchot was there for like 6 hours or
Yeah.
something, had
Yeah.
like 4 lines
Right.
in the movie. And he was good.
He was good, but he's unnecessary. He's not needed for the story, but
No, no,
excuse me, I get it.
but
He
I
is
mean,
good.
he doesn't get
He's
enough.
always good.
He doesn't get enough to, do
I
anything
know.
that interesting.
I know.
But it felt to me like the movie it would gear itself up to something,
Yeah.
right? It's like leading you along on this path where now there's going to be like some Beverly Hills Cop hijinks.
Right.
And then just as that's about to happen, they would go, nope.
Right.
It's like
Right.
we're gonna do this over here instead, and you're
Yeah.
like, wait, what? Why?
It,
We've got like the big drive in the truck, and
yeah.
then after that scene,
Yep.
all of a sudden it's like it's not Beverly Hills Cop anymore.
Right.
Like there are no other like weird
Right.
Beverly Hills Cop moments. There's no
Right.
shenanigans.
They
It's
neuter
so
Axel's
easy.
character
Yeah.
from being a resourceful, street smart former criminal. I mean, if you believe that criminals can be cops, before going to the academy and all that stuff, sure. But again, what do we do when we're bored? Well, we'll put him in a meter maid's little electric vehicle,
Yeah.
and he's going to run through a bunch of crowds again. That's only 10 or 15 minutes after he was in the snowplow.
Right.
The film is R,
And it's really long.
and it really is long, and
That
it's
that whole
unnecessarily.
part with where that's what's happening goes on so long, and then at the end, it's like he just falls over and magically he lost the people.
Right, right, right.
You're like,
Outrun him.
"Whatever."
Who could have outrun him? Also, that sets up the scene of again two in the original film, two handsome-looking Beverly Hills cops pick him up, put him into a cop car, and he says, "Boy, this is the nicest cop car I've ever seen.
Right.
Cleaner than my apartment."
Right.
Two women pick him up, put him in a small little Lego car, and he's talking about the car again, and I'm like, "Alright, is this for
It,
anybody who's seen the
right.
first
It's
film?"
like scene by
It's
scene,
awful.
like, yeah.
The two other things I forgot to mention quick, saying, "No, we gotta do 2 other films," is the film was rated R, and it ran like it was PG to me. There wasn't, and I don't necessarily need coarse language or nudity or excessive violence, but I didn't get where this R rated came from, and I think it would have exceeded better expectations if it had played to the R instead of the PG Netflix side. I don't know where that got messed up, but it did.
Yeah.
Also, really, Judge Reinhold's character is missing. He's like the MacGuffin of the film, right? He's the guy who's got the thing that proves the case for the daughter, saves Axel, gets everybody reunited. He's getting roughed up for 2 days. He looks like he just like scratched himself, like getting out of
He,
bed.
like, ran into a
I
door.
don't know who's been roughing him up, but Pillow Hands needs to be replaced in that gang because he shows up and I'm thinking of scenes where like Joe Pesci's getting roughed up in Lethal Weapon 2 for like 25 minutes and he looks like he's been battered.
Right.
Like Judge Reinhold is sort of like, "Oh, it's good to see you." I'm like, "You should leave and come back in 4 more days." Like, what
Right.
are they doing beating him up like this for 2 days? Just dumb, stupid,
It's,
weird decisions
it's really like
that don't add up.
it's really like,
God, it sucked.
if you took kind of a, story that should be like a R
Mhm.
very serious movie, and it's like you tone things down because it's like a semi-family
Yeah.
comedy
Right.
even, because like
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop,
Right.
the original, right? Like
Yep.
that's for everyone. It's not like people can't watch it, right? I mean,
Right.
it's family,
Right. It's
whatever.
vulgar, but,
But this is like, instead of that, it's like almost like we want to translate it into like Sesame Street
yeah,
or
Pluto
something.
Nash it a
And
bit.
it's like,
Man, it would have been so great for the film to have transcended somewhere where there's some subversion here. Like, the Beverly Hills Cop should have been Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Like, he's disenfranchised, maybe he goes out on his own, maybe fully trains him a bit, even though the guy's really
he
clear.
becomes the new
'Cause
Beverly Hills Cop.
he is at sort of a core, like, this guy who is maybe not good with voices and can turn into a chameleon in any situation, but he's smart, he's attentive, he seems like he's got, like, an interesting character there, and what a missed opportunity to just not be, like, the subversion here in the title.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say real quick is the reason I'm giving it, like, the rating I am isn't because of how much I bagged on it. That's just the disappointment I felt from watching it. I can also compartmentalize and be like, "I've seen the other films, this is just a ripoff on it." If I hadn't seen the other films, this is an okay film, it's just a little below average, it's not that
Yeah.
exciting, it's not that funny, it's not that interesting, it's a little weirdly paced, but it's not horrible. But it's horrible if you grew up in the '80s and you love Axel Foley.
And you were expecting
And I didn't watch it, so
something
we do
more.
this sometimes too. I didn't watch the trailer, I can't tell I watched the trailer after the fact and I went,
Right.
"Oh
Right.
god, I'm glad I didn't see the trailer." Because again, I know what the others would have been like, and I would have really come in
Right.
hesitant,
Right.
but anyway, just awful.
All right. So,
So,
moving on from that, if. So it's the if stands for imaginary friend.
that's right.
And I'll tell you right now, if you want something really along these lines and you want to
So,
watch something better, cooler, more hilarious, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends
yeah,
wins out over watching this movie every time.
yeah,
And it's virtually the same thing. It
yeah,
is it is
yeah,
it is really ripped off from that cartoon, and
yeah,
it kind of irritated me even.
yeah.
It's like
Uh-oh.
it's a home for
Right,
imaginary friends
right.
who do not have their kids anymore. That's the whole premise
Sounds an awful lot like the film I just
cartoon,
watched.
right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's Ryan Reynolds, and voicing the people are everyone. It's like Steve Carell again
Oh, man, yeah.
because he
Yeah.
can't stop voicing things now.
Right.
It's like an addiction.
Yeah.
Um, and the other imaginary friends, it's all kinds of
Phoebe
famous people.
Waller-Bridge, Louis Gossett Jr. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
could keep
like
reading like 15 of
it's
these
like on and
people.
on.
Oh my
But
god, there's so many.
yeah, it's crazy. So and
Wow.
we do run into like a lot of them throughout the movie. But
Yeah.
anyway, so we're centered on this young girl who goes to stay with her grandma,
Yep.
for like the summer, whatever. There's a whole story in there somewhere, and like in their building or whatever is this weird guy who is Ryan Reynolds,
Yep.
and and it actually kind of moves pretty quickly where we just break things down right away. We
Yeah.
don't have a lot of her going, wait, I heard a noise, I saw
Yeah.
something,
Right.
and it's like days and days and whatever. It's just kind of
Yeah.
gives you a couple little moments and then boom, it's
Boom.
like she sees and
Right.
she sees the imaginary friend and she can see them all.
Yep.
And not sure that, spoiler alert, it's not really, it's like an anti-spoiler, but I'm not sure we get really clarification on that at any point. Like
I thought of that too. I'm like,
we get to the end of the movie and then we just really kind of drop that ball and kind of like try to slide it into the corner
right.
unless I missed something
I
or
thought the
whatever.
same
But
thing. I'm like, I was gonna ask you, did I miss the
right.
thing that was the quick line that
Anyway, so Ryan Reynolds, meets Ryan Reynolds eventually. She
Yep.
like is seeing these imaginary friends.
And Ryan Reynolds looks
He's
like
in
Ryan Reynolds. He's not like
right,
an
right,
animated thing. He's
right.
him.
And they they kind of get together on her trying to figure out what's going on, and it
Yeah.
turns out that basically he is like kind of helping to run this theoretical program
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
finding new kids for imaginary friends whose kids have outgrown
Run
them
off. Yeah.
and don't think about them anymore.
Yep.
And then, hilarity ensues,
Right.
right?
Right.
We try to find people. There's imaginary friend hijinks.
Yo, yeah.
We meet all kinds of weird imaginary friends with
Yeah.
various stories and everything. So this movie, and we could be kind of quick on this
Yeah.
one, hopefully, and that's what it deserves anyway. But but
Uh-oh.
this movie
I'm close.
is like really very solidly six.
Wow.
It
Yeah.
it was like it was pretty good,
Yeah.
right? I would say the way that I think about this movie
Mm.
is your kids are going to like it.
Yep.
It doesn't actually have a lot for adults,
Right.
which is an interesting tie into Inside Out 2
Right.
and things to talk about there. But I don't think it brings stuff like, Pixar movies, eh, since we're talking about Inside Out 2,
Yeah.
have always kind of had this thing where they're trying to be for
Yeah.
everyone and lots of other ones do it like Shrek and
Sure.
whatever
Toy Story, all they
whatever.
all
Yeah.
yeah, kick in.
But anyway, this one is like pretty solidly just for kids. But so here's the thing. I think when you watch this movie, it's pretty good, especially for the target audience, right?
Right.
I think that they're going to have a good time with it. I think that it's fun. I think that it does some, screwy things in good ways. It has like some, message to it.
Yeah.
We're doing lots of stuff, but I think they're going to have fun and they're going to like it and there's stuff to laugh at and everything like that. It just doesn't have like that next level for me at all.
Yeah.
I don't see, and I could be proven wrong, right? Maybe in 6 months, I will discover that lots of kids want to watch this over and over and go back to it and
Yeah.
everything, right? But it just doesn't seem like it has that, as far as I could tell.
Yeah.
It's it's good and they'll enjoy it, and you take your kids out to the movie and they'll be like, "Great, that was a great movie," and then man, they will forget about it fast. I think
Yeah.
it's just it doesn't have like something, right? It
Right.
doesn't have that next level of some kind of like great characters, big laughs, like real kind of investment in characters that you like want to rewatch it or
Yeah.
something. I don't know. But so I gave it a 6. That's where I am.
It's it's an incredibly beautiful looking film. It almost looks, in a it's hard to say this without being able to digress farther forward, but, like, Tim Burton Wonka film, like, it's just the colors are so bold and bright, and everything's moving, everything's crisp. Everybody's everybody's there to do the right job. Not only for me did it not have that extra gear, and I don't know that I would say I think you're nailing it right. It's not that it didn't have the urgency to do something more. it just didn't have the gear. It didn't seem to know how to throw it in that extra place, which either might have come from some heartbreak. I'm not gonna spoil the story. The main character is really worried about her dad. Her mom died. This is like up. This gets told in the first few minutes. Her mom passed away recently, last year, and her dad has to go in for what is, I think, is pretty clear, heart transplant, heart surgery, not heart transplant, heart surgery. And she's really worried. Um, the acting's all really good. It just felt sort of synthetic to me, even though it was beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
I wanted to remember, I keep blanking on her name. It's Kaylee Fleming, I think. Did I get that right? I did. She's fantastic as
Yeah.
an actress, and as a young actress, she knows how to act for film instead of stage, where in the stage, you have to act for the back row, everything's exaggerated. She's got such subtleties in showing the emotional range that she needs to do the characters. I was so bored.
Yeah.
I was at 4 almost the entire, well, I was at, like, 5, and I just kept getting bored, and I kept thinking, "Do something.
Yeah.
Be original. Don't show me another version of the cast from, like, Monsters versus Aliens, where there's, like, a gelatinous thing and there's a robot, and I know that's not terribly fair because those things can be in anything, but just go somewhere and do something other than just showing me the fictitious stuff that is so fanciful and does play, like, when Lewis starts telling her, like, "You can imagine this place any way you want," and then she starts making the house,
Right.
it's an exciting, like, 6 minutes. Do more of that, but don't do what seems to be throwing it in neutral and just idling for 10 minutes here, then nothing for a bit, then 10 minutes there. I just truly was bored, and sometimes movies like this are really for kids,
Yeah.
and they're not, and I'm spoiled from Pixar and some Disney efforts where it's 2 frequencies. They're laughing at the hijinks, and I'm getting the adult humor.
Right.
This just doesn't have that, even though all the players are there to drop it in. We just this is Krasinski's writing and directing, so it falls on him.
Right.
Um, I like him as a person and as a personality and as someone who I hear in press junkets. I think he's very thoughtful. I think he has really fun ideas, but just like with A Quiet Place, fundamentally, I got big problems with his exciting ideas. I just think they need another draft or another
Yeah.
rewrite.
I
It's just not there.
yeah, I think that it does actually strangely connect to Quiet Place, even though, you know, A Quiet Place seems to work,
For a
right?
lot of people, it worked a
And
lot.
it makes plenty of money,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I think A Quiet Place is uh like what Krasinski's got is here's an interesting starting place.
Yeah.
And then all the places we get to do not necessarily
Right.
work out
Right.
as well as they should, right?
Right.
And, it's like a credit to him for A Quiet Place that
Yeah.
the starting place is actually pretty
Kinda
interesting
cool.
because people keep going to see the
Right.
movie,
Right. Yeah.
even if they kind of have some problems. It is an interesting thing that, like, in the first movie, I just don't know that we had enough people looking
Yeah.
at what decisions we were making
Right.
and how that would play out, because then it could have been better,
Would have been much
right? I
better.
think this is the same thing, right?
I do
It's
too.
like, he
Yeah.
has an interesting starting place
Yeah.
that he stole from an old cartoon,
Totally did.
but,
Totally did.
so there you go. But
Allegedly.
everywhere that it went needed more people to
Yeah.
look at it, I think, and go, "Yeah, but I mean, let's have some other ideas or something."
Right.
I think what would have been really cool in this movie,
Yeah.
and what this movie needed, especially for the way that it played out, is about halfway through the movie, you would find out that all of a sudden you didn't even know what movie you were watching.
Right.
It was all it now, like, we completely shift gears and
Yeah.
there's a whole other thing happening that you didn't even realize what was happening.
Yeah.
Because this movie, what it's doing is it's really only got going from A to B,
Right.
right? It's got this B in mind that thinks is really badass,
Mhm.
that everyone who's 11 or older
Right.
knew was B in the first place,
Yeah.
like when the thing started.
Yeah.
But it takes the, the slowest, most obvious road to be,
Yeah.
and not like I said, not that it's not fun, it's got lots of fun stuff happening.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Reynolds is actually really great in it.
Yeah.
The character that is, Pharrell is,
Yeah.
does his bit, and
Yeah.
he's funny and clever,
Yeah.
has lots of stuff that's cool.
Yeah.
But at the bigger picture stuff, like if you watch this movie like scene by scene,
Right.
each individual scene is probably pretty cool. You're gonna
Yeah.
like it and go, yeah, that's a good movie, right? But
Yeah.
when they are all just steps to getting to our B reveal, which
Yeah.
is not that big a thing anyway,
Right.
and everybody knew,
Right.
I feel like somewhere this just needed like some whole other step.
Yeah.
It's
I meant to say, I bet the dailies were killer. Like, the
I mean,
screenplay,
every
for even if you didn't know that it's derivative? No, similar to an existing property. If you just read the screenplay reads like, again, I'm watching it and I'm like, "Why isn't this better?" It's just not purposeful. It's just almost like checking boxes in a way that it thinks, "Well, to be a successful kids movie of this type of genre, you need this, this, and this.
right.
So we'll give you that, that, and that." And it just
Yeah, I just
didn't
thought,
work.
especially, like the first half hour of it, I already didn't think it was gonna be great, right?
Right.
But what I thought was that, considering the fact that the movie won't stop saying imagination at me,
Yeah, right.
I
Yeah.
thought that
Yeah.
something
Right.
something bigger
Yeah.
was coming. Anyway, all right, but it's fun time and, for the right age, I think, uh, kids will love it.
It's sort of
I
like
just
a
don't think it will be their next favorite movie that they wanna watch
Yeah, I don't either.
right?
That's the other thing. It's, you can only take the Pixar version of The Sixth Sense so far. She sees
Right,
imaginary things, okay?
right.
But the and I mean, as we're moving on real quick too, like, if somebody's imaginary friend is like a glass of water with a piece of ice in it, like, I gotta meet that kid.
That was
Like,
kinda
that's
cool.
kinda cool. That stuff was interesting. The characters in the background were all
It was
great.
cool. The further into the background characters
Oh,
they
way
got,
better.
the more I wanted to watch that
Yeah, me
movie,
too.
right?
Me
And,
too.
the one guy's just bubbles,
This would Yeah,
like,
the
that
right
was
this would have been a fantastic game where you just walk around and, like, as a
unlock
sandbox, and you just, like,
characters and
walk up to
stuff,
the,
yeah,
glass of water, and you gotta find out who that kid's who that guy belongs to. You're like,
right.
"Okay, we'll go." That's more interesting to me than this.
Yeah. Alright, anyway,
Yeah.
okay, so Inside Out 2, which we
Oh, yeah.
hopefully won't, have to cut super short.
Right.
Inside Out 2, so, just to jump, really quickly into all our ratings and things, right? Um, because we all know what Inside Out 2 is, right?
Right.
I mean, it's
We should.
we don't have to explain the movie. Riley's now a teenager.
Yeah.
The hormone alarm goes off or
Yeah.
whatever the hell happens in the
Right.
head.
Yeah.
A bunch of new emotions show up, because now we have now we have more going on in our brains,
Yeah.
despite the fact that we've like really had to try and retcon that and end credits and
Yeah.
put some into eh, adults' minds from
Right.
before, whatever, which I thought was funny. But
Yeah.
anyway, but that's then clarity ensues. It's like same story, puberty,
Right.
that changes lots of things and go. Um, and without even going too in depth into anything, I gave it a 9 and I really wanted to give it a 10.
Yeah.
And I really think it deserves a 10. And here's the real craziest thing is, which it doesn't make any sense, but I think it's better than the first one. And I love the first one.
Yeah.
That there may be some explanation to that, why, but I gave it a 9 and I really wish I could have given it a 10. But I couldn't quite. So
Yeah. In the same way, by the time you get around to whether you read the book or you saw the film, the 4th entry in the Harry Potter canon is when the world opens up. It's not just Hogwarts, and it's not just, everybody in the one building. You see that there are wizards everywhere, that there's sporting events everywhere, that it's a global thing. Here, with the influx of just a handful of new emotions, everything just exponentially widens and gets more interesting
Right.
and becomes more engaging and more thoughtful and more nuanced. The film is firing off great ideas left and right, and some are plots and machinations, and others are just ideas. Like, there's a moment in there when all the emotions are dealing with what's going on with Riley, and they literally encounter a brainstorm, and it's a storm with
Right.
lightning thoughts, and I thought when I was watching this
And it's like they're trying to grab
and they're
them and
trying to get a hold of
everything.
it, and I'm like, "Son of a bitch, this thing is really all over the place in the best of ways." And I also am sort of not 100% sure why it didn't kick one more level up, because 'cause I'm at 8.5, and I'm like, "Where is that one thing that it just needed?" It almost felt like
Yeah, if I watch it again, I may change it,
it
you know?
it's I was just gonna say, I almost felt like this might be one of those that you need to breeze through a second time, because at 90 minutes, it's an hour and 36 minutes, but there's a lot of credits. At 90 minutes, you can't that's our sweet spot of film.
Right.
It's got everything that's working. It's not disregarding the stuff that worked the first time. It's actually just doubling down and then going through in a very thoughtful way for kids and adults, all of these creative things, describing anxiety so that it is not pandering to children watching it, but actually makes them feel like it's okay if you feel this way. Like it's actually doing public service stuff while entertaining. It's
It
doing
really
so many things well all the time. It just didn't do one more thing, and I don't know what that is.
yeah. It really, it's funny with the anxiety because it, not only does it do all this stuff to, like, talk about anxiety and all this, but it really does a weirdly good job, I think, of explaining where it comes
Right,
from and what it means to have it,
right.
and,
Yep,
like, it's really cool. Like, there were,
very
there
thoughtful.
were some doctors involved
Yeah, somebody ran this by
in, like, the
somebody ran
writing
this
of
in a
stuff.
weird way to piggyback off of If and Krasinski. It's and I don't know how many people saw it. I don't know how many people saw it to be critical. I think you need at least a few people that don't wanna just crap on it, but you've gotta have people that'll punch holes in things. Whoever saw this script, you're damn right somebody professional also took a quick look at it, whether that was a studio executive or the screenwriter was just like, "Look, are we gonna do anything really weird here or damage anything, or are we
Right,
over our skis?"
right.
No, in fact, you're doing some really awesome explaining, justifying, defending, petrol it's just all kinds of stuff there is so impressive that it's happening, and this is a weird one. We saw it in 3D, and
Yeah,
man, that thing
and the
took
3D
everywhere. It was wild. I mean, it really the there's a part in the film where they're trying to travel to go to a distant place that is cumbersome, and in a strange way, that sort of bogged me down. I still had a fun time watching it. There's still a lot of kinetic things happening. It's just sort of like too molasses in a story that wants to be a little bit faster. But it's hard to find things. This was a couple weeks ago, but it's hard to find anything about it that was negative except that it's just missing something.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, if I watch it again, it may be a 10.
Yeah,
I think part of what brought it down for me, was that a lot of the stuff was, and, this is weird to say for, like, kids movie or whatever. A lot of the stuff was just, like, a little bit obvious and cliche and played out, you
sure.
know? The we get to camp, she
Yep.
has to the main issue she's having really, right, is, like, the fight,
Right.
between what's she gonna do next year, and now she just learned that her best friends are going to a different high school,
Yeah.
and it's like, so does she go over there? Does she try and go over
Right.
here? Does she wanna be popular? All that stuff, and a fair amount of that, the way it played out, was just a little bit like,
Heavy.
we coulda
Yeah.
thought of
Yeah.
something, or we coulda, you know, moved this in a slightly different way,
Yeah.
but I do want to say the interesting thing for me, which it like kind of connects to If, is there are all these movies, right? Where I mean, we're spoiled with Toy Story and
Sure.
all the stuff.
Everything.
The animated films that are for kids, but man, they're kind of like for adults, or
Yeah.
they're for like at least the adults can
Right.
watch it and also get something. And Inside Out was very much like that,
Yeah,
right? And it was great. This movie, I feel like, is actually kind of the opposite,
yeah,
right? Like those kids, the all those movies are like for kids and adults can get something out of it,
yeah,
right? And this movie is like for adults
yeah,
and kids can get something out of it. And it's kind of funny too because my daughter who's 17 watched this and my wife is like scared to watch it
yeah,
because she's heard on the internet that it will be bad and she will
right.
just cry all the time or
Sure.
whatever, right?
Yeah,
But anyway, so my daughter watched it. She thought it was really good,
yeah,
right? And she's like, I mean, it was really good, and I don't know what the big deal
right,
of all this stuff. I was like,
right,
Well, you don't have kids.
right.
You just
You will
are a
someday.
kid."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like
You haven't
this
leveled up yet.
movie, this movie is
Yeah,
so much a different thing happening
yeah,
if what you have to the lens you have is remembering this
yeah.
happening in your life
Yeah,
versus the lens you have is watching this happen and having your own kids
right.
that are doing that
Yeah,
or
yeah.
are like
Or it's happening in your
right,
life,
right,
like, maybe you're dealing with all these hormones and you're like,
right.
yeah.
They those
Mhm.
are
Yeah,
such different
those
movies
are
that
really
are
different starting
playing out
squares.
to people,
Yeah,
right? And I think this movie like weirdly nails
yeah,
um being there's something about joy
yeah,
that like so nails like the driver of like the kid
right, right.
viewers,
Yep,
right? Like
yeah,
we're like bringing them together and everything. And it's like Riley herself
yeah,
is like parents watching the movie
yeah.
or like, whatever. But it it is hard to watch if you have kids.
Sure, and
It
it's
like to a really surprising degree
yeah,
for a goofy
yeah, right,
animated movie,
yeah.
but
Oh, there we go.
there you are. But I think that this is a sequel movie almost unheard of
Right,
to take all the stuff that worked in the movie,
yeah,
and I swear to God to have like 40 or 50 people analyze it or something
yeah,
and go, be honest,
yeah,
what is the stuff that worked?
yeah,
We will take your notes
yep,
and we will like improve on those things.
yeah,
And what didn't work, okay, we will try to move on. Like
yeah,
this movie is so like weirdly, brilliantly
mhm,
looking back at the first movie
yeah,
and figuring out where to go from there. And man, that just never happens. And I mean, even in animated movies, that doesn't
right.
happen. But there is, something to be said for the fact that it takes you like 4 years to make a movie, right? Because
Right, that's true too, and
you
also
get
just
to think about it for a
a
really long time.
thoughtful dissection of that certainly feels it. It's also just it's peppered with all the, I mean, air quote, "inconsequential" things, like, we live in Riley's head with her emotions so much, and you get a glimpse of what dads look like,
Right.
and other people, like, you have other things, and you're just like, okay, maybe if you're ever having a difficult time trying to explain someone why maybe you feel this way when they're younger, you just pop this film in and be like, "It's okay,"
Right.
because it comes away with that awesome message that's doubled down on with the visual of them dropping memories in and cultivating only the good and always trying to hide the bad and why that's a bad idea, what happens when you have to reconcile those, what happens when you have to go through those literally. Like, it's okay to feel sad. You're
I
gonna
th-
feel anxious,
I
like,
thought
all
I
these
thought
things are
it was
very good.
really cool. And also, just on another level, there's lots of fun stuff.
It's
There's
tons of
lots of
fun, great characters,
laughing
everything's
and
working.
the whole thing.
You would think that I know well, actually, go ahead, I won't forget this.
No,
Sorry.
well, anyway, just like, we go to the vault
Yeah,
and there's like adventures they go on, just
on the
like the
way.
first time they
Yeah,
have to like, they have to now we have to go way to the back to the
right.
trash I was throwing
Yeah,
everything
right,
in
right.
and we have to find the personality matrix and all
You
this
would
stuff. But it's still got like the fun. Like I'm talking
yeah.
about it like it's super serious and
No, it's totally
downer
fun.
thing.
It's
But
an
no, it's super
adventure,
fun.
and
Yeah.
you would think that the characterization of things like joy, anger, anxiety, that they're one-trick ponies, and I guess they are, but man, they're nuanced as hell. There's a lot of things
Right.
that joy does except just walk around and be joyful. Like,
Right.
it's fun to see the incredible thoughtfulness. I mean, if you were giving this thing a prescription, it would be like you just get stars galore for just being thoughtful.
Yeah.
It's great.
And
It's really great.
figuring everything out.
Yeah,
All right, we really should go though. We're kind of at time, but I have to say, this is going to be one that I don't know how it's not going to be on like
right.
my top
The list.
10 of the year,
Yeah,
because even though I only gave it 9, but it is so well
strong.
put together, and we didn't really talk about like laughs and fun and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But man, let me tell you, I want some like ennui merchandise.
right. Right.
I want like a
Yeah,
mug or a shirt or something.
yeah.
Um, so many little things in there
Yeah,
are so hilarious. Anyway, that one is one to go see.
yeah, see
Not
that
sure what
first.
is going to be happening right away,
Yeah,
except that it's going to be, Deadpool before long.
right,
So we'll be coming with
right.
that. Probably also a lot of stuff, a lot more stuff on streaming,
Yeah, right.
like Axel F.
It's
There's a
firing
ton of
everywhere.
that
Yep,
coming up. But we'll see you next week with a, I guess, more
something.
information heavy
Yeah, right.
uh,
Yeah,
version of an episode where we can talk about it and stuff like that.
yeah,
Thanks for tuning in, and like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And we'll see you next week.
yeah.
Bye.
Bye.